Hi friends, welcome to Harmony Hills Home and Garden. I'm Jenny and we're gardening here in Baltimore, Maryland, Zone 7. Today is the 2nd of August. You're seeing this video a little bit later, but I can't believe on the 2nd of August it's 74 degrees or so, getting up to only 83. It's a beautiful clear blue sky with white puffy clouds, nice clean breeze, gorgeous day for yard maintenance. So come with me and let's just putter and see what gets done. I think I'm going to start with this area right here. I've decided I am going to cut back all those cone flowers and maybe they'll give me another bloom before the end of the summer. Maybe they won't, but there's plenty of cone flowers over here on this fence that the goldfinches can use. So I'm going to do some pruning to clean this area up and, you know, cut back some other things too. Just tidy things up a little bit. Alright, that might look a little bit drastic, taking down all that iris foliage and the daylilies. Now I have a big hole here in this garden, and also the cone flowers are quite a bit smaller than they were just a minute ago, but I really think that this is going to be healthy for this garden. The daylily and the irises should put up some new foliage before the end of the summer, and it'll just look fresher and cleaner. I think we had some rainstorms and some animals and some drought that contributed to why the irises and the daylilies were so flat. So this will help perk them back up. And now I'm going to move on to the next section of the garden that I want to clean up. So much better with those annuals that were they were done out of there, and deadheaded things. And yes, I may put something else there for the rest of the season, or I may leave it blank. I'm not sure. I'm gonna live with it for a little while and see what I want to do there. But yeah, that looks so much better, I think. I've been meaning to deadhead this twist and shout hydrangea for a while now, and it's definitely time. So I'm just gonna cut each flower head off down to the next leaf node. And that way, if it wants to push out new growth and new blooms, it can. And but if it doesn't want to, it can still look nice. Here, this stem has an old flower head, and then there's a leaf node with nothing much happening. But then down here, there's a leaf node that has new growth coming. So I'm going to trim it right there. Just looking for the new growth right here, and trim it down to there. Let's look at this leaf right here, this flower bud right here. I want to definitely get that off, and so I'm going to take that off. I want this leaf off because of the damage on it, and so I'm going to look down on the stem for signs of new growth. I definitely see new growth right down there, but I think there's new growth right here. See those little buds right there? So I'm going to trim this one off right there. And then it'll grow back nice and green and fresh from right there and also down here. Same thing over here. I'm going to look for the next leaf buds that are healthy. Trim it right there. This looks so much nicer now that it's been deadheaded. A lot of the damaged leaves have been taken off. And there's new fresh green leaves coming out at the end of every single tip. So this is going to look gorgeous again in just a matter of weeks. It might even give us some more blooms this year. Who knows? On these Shasta daisies, when I'm deadheading them, I want to use kind of the same approach that I used on the hydrangea. And that is, I find the flower stalk and I follow it down to the main stem. And then I cut right near some new growth at a leaf node so that maybe it'll send up some new shoots. And I do have a couple of examples in here of brand new flowers in the last day or two. There's a bud coming right there. And back in there I found a bud that was just starting to form, so I didn't cut it off. So I want to be kind of careful about where I trim these Shasta daisies so that I can get more blooms on it. The second flush of blooms are going to be fewer blooms and they won't be as big, but it'll be something and something to look forward to. See on this clump right here, I have all these dead heads here, and I could be tempted to just cut it off right down there. But when you look very carefully, there's a new bud right there. So that's why I don't want to just cut way down. I want to let that bud grow. So I'm going to cut everything off around it, but let it grow. And so now that bud can turn into a flower. And there's probably more little tiny ones around the rest of these stems as well. So I'm going to give them a fighting chance. Same thing right here. There's a bud right there. So I'm going to cut and leave the bud. This phlox is covered in powdery mildew. And I haven't treated it yet. I think I will treat it, but I don't anticipate that I'll be able to cure it. But as long as these flower heads are still putting on blossom buds, I think I'm not going to cut the plant down. So I'm just looking for any flower heads that are mostly done, and I'll trim those off. Like here's one. But like this is just full of new flower buds. And most of these are, maybe not that one. So I think this plant is still flowering for me. It's still performing in the garden. So I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to treat this. I got to see what I have available that will treat powdery mildew. So I'll go search for that in a minute. Yeah, but I think that's all I'm going to cut. Now I'm going to clean my clippers off with an antiseptic wipe so that I don't spread powdery mildew to everything else. I have these alcohol wipes always on hand thanks to coronavirus, huh? And as I'm looking at my blade, I can see that I probably should sharpen it. I do have a sharpening tool, so maybe I'll do that sometime today too. Or maybe not. Okay, no more cutting on powdery mildew now that I've cleaned them, so I'll move on to my next pruning task. But first, I'll see if I have anything that I can treat that powdery mildew with before I move on. I went in my garage and looked around to see what I have, and I found 2 solutions that might work to help combat the powdery mildew. Although I will say that is a really bad infestation and it's probably too late to save it, but I'm going to give it a shot. I found some neem oil, which is a natural plant extract, and it is a fungicide, insecticide, and miticide 3-in-1 product. So this would take care of more than just the powdery mildew if I use it. And then I found this copper fungicide, which is only a one job product. This only takes care of funguses, but it does attempt to take care of powdery mildew as well. Now, both of these I should have been using preventatively and then regularly throughout the season on plants that I know are susceptible to powdery mildew, like my phlox. But I didn't do that, so here we are in August and I have a really bad infestation. I think I'm going to start with the copper fungicide because it's a stronger thing to address the specific problem that I have here. But I might be using some neem oil on a couple of other plants throughout the day. We'll see how things go. Now, the copper fungicide says, here are the directions. For powdery mildew, you're supposed to begin treatment 2 weeks before powdery mildew is expected to appear. I didn't do that. Here we are. All right, so anyway, moving on down. Spray all plant surfaces, top and bottom of leaves thoroughly. 1 quart will treat 10 square yards. Okay, so I'm just going to try this on the phlox and see what happens. I don't expect the existing powdery mildew to go away. Maybe it will. But what I'm hoping is that new leaves that emerge won't get it. We'll see. Okay, so that's done. I coated the leaves until they were dripping, and I tried to get the underside of the leaves as well. We'll see if that does anything to help prevent more powdery mildew on these plants. I'm going to go change gloves, wash my hands, and put this away. Oh, it's really nice to take a little break on a beautiful day. I just wanted to mention in my my yard tour that I posted, I think it was just this morning that I posted that. I was in the yard tour, I was expressing areas that I thought needed some work and places where I thought I wasn't doing a good job. And I don't want anybody to think that I am down on myself or that I am too hard on myself in my garden. I was just sharing with you that I know it's not perfect. Nothing in nature is perfect, and I don't expect it to be. For me, gardening is a continual improvement process, and that's kind of how I like to be as a person. I like to do things and then look at how they came out and then think, okay, how can I make that better? What can I do differently to make that just a little bit nicer? And so that's what I was expressing in my video. And I don't want any of you to think that I am a perfectionist, because clearly I'm not. And it doesn't make any sense to try to have a perfect garden. Now, having said that, there are some gardens that I'm really admiring right now. Guiding Green Thumbs just posted, I think yesterday, or sometime recently, a full tour of a sun garden, and it's just like, that is how I want my gardens to look. And none of my gardens look anything like that right now. But I have gone back and watched that video a couple of times, and I've written down ideas for plants, plant combinations, what goes in the back, what goes in the front. And I know that she lives in a different zone than me. She's up in Zone 5, New York, where she gets a lot more rain than I do. And she has a lot colder winters than I do. And, her situation is different from mine, so I know that I will never, ever have a garden that looks exactly like hers, or anyone else's, really. We can admire Garden Answer, we can admire The Impatient Gardener, and any number of other gardening YouTubers out there. I love watching all of those gardens. I love looking at them for ideas and admiring them and just really being happy for them that they have such beautiful things. And I know that I have beautiful things here too, and I am grateful. And so I just wanted to clear that up and just have a, just a moment to be real with you and let you know that nothing in life is perfect. We can use social media for good, for inspiration, or sometimes it can become bad if we use it as a comparison. And so I don't ever want anybody to think that I'm comparing myself in a negative light to those more accomplished you might consider more accomplished gardeners. I'm just using them for inspiration, and I'm always keeping that mental list of how can this be better? How can I fix this to just be a little bit happier with it? And then there are some spots where I don't need to tinker with it because it's just gorgeous the way it is. And my prime example of that for me right now is my twisted shout hydrangea that's right beside a big stand of Rockin' the Blues salvia. I'm just so happy with that combination, and I'm not going to change anything about that. So anyway, so let's have some drink and cool off. It is a beautiful day here, and yet I still find myself glistening and glowing but there's a nice cool breeze, so that's good. What should I do next? Maybe I should sit here a little bit more. I'm looking out in here, and there are some things in the side yard that I want to change this season. And one of the things I want to do is pull out that daylily clump. And so here's how I work in my garden. Sometimes I think I'm going to get those daylilies out of there, and so I'm going to go take my shovel and my gloves and just rip them out. And then I'm stuck with a big clump of daylilies, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them. And so then I set them down on the sidewalk, or maybe if I'm good, I'll put them in a pot. Usually not, though. On a daylily, I'll just take it and set it down on the sidewalk, bare root, and then it'll sit there for weeks. So I told myself earlier this spring that I wasn't going to do that so much anymore because it just makes the yard look a little bit, ratty. So I said, I'm not going to dig anything out until I know where I'm going to put it that very same gardening session. And so that's why I haven't pulled those daylilies out yet, because I don't know where they're going. And I made that promise to myself. So maybe I should break that promise to myself just because I want to make progress over there. Or maybe I should just get busy thinking about where I should put those daylilies. Problem is, if I put them out in the front yard, I have to spray them. And have I sprayed for deer yet this year? Mm-mm. I have everything I need to spray for deer, but I haven't done it yet. And last night, those little stinkers, they came through and they ate my halcyon hostas right out here in front of the gate. So I don't really want to put any plants outside the gate that the deer like. So that means inside the gate. So where do I want to put a stand of orange daylilies? I like orange daylilies. Maybe I should give them to a friend. And this is how I garden. Decided to pull these out today, and it was a nice big clump, and I have at least 4, probably 6 or 8 different divisions that I could give away to if I had a lot of friends who want them, or I could sell them on Facebook Marketplace, or I am going to give them away. I'm not here to make money off of getting rid of my plants, but those are some things you could do with leftover plants. I could also just throw them in a garden somewhere, or I could just throw them in the compost bin and let them turn into rich soil for myself. But I hate to throw plants in the compost bin if they're viable. I just don't like these plants. So I'm going to find somebody who wants them, and I can give them all to one person, or I can split them up. Either way. So I just stuck the root balls into this pot. There's no soil in the bottom of the pot. I just stuck them in there, and I'll probably toss in some soil on top just to cover them up a little bit and keep them wet until someone comes and takes them. Okay, so that totally changed the way this garden looks because I lost a lot of height. Everything in here is pretty short to the ground. So it does open up some design opportunities for me. I have this mini mauvette hydrangea here. It should get a little bit taller and a little bit bigger around, but it's not ever going to be towering. And this is going to grow a little taller, but as far as in here, I could probably stand to have something a little bit taller in here. I have kind of haphazardly placed hellebores. I got one here, one here, one here, and one over there. I could move this hellebore and put in something tallish here. I might do that, but I don't have that kind of plant right now. So for now, I could just start planting these hostas. I bought these 3 hostas on clearance recently. I have 3 of these. They are the same. They're all frozen margarita hostas, and they grow to be, at maturity, they'll be 12 to 18 inches tall and 18 to 24 inches wide. So if these are each 2 feet at maturity, I could plant them like right here, like that. How's that look? This is a elegans. This will grow to be 4 feet big. I mean, none of these are going to be here permanently, because as the guacamole gets to be bigger and as the elegans gets to be bigger, there won't be as much room for these, but these are going to be more easily movable. So, and every perennial in my garden is movable, in my opinion. Nothing gets to stay where it is forever, except maybe peonies that don't like to be moved. So, should I put that there? Sure, why not? Let's take a little bit of a closer look. Tell me what you think. From this vantage point, I don't really like it. I need all that bright green chartreuse to move over that way. Yeah, I don't like the guacamole and that all together. Okay, good thing I looked up closer. Yeah, I don't like that plan. I don't like that chartreuse right next to this chartreuse. So, different plan. These hellebores are all really dark green. Do I need that chartreuse in the middle there? Let's try that. How's that look? Well, that looks kind of weird with the diagonal line there. What else? I do have to remember that these are going to be bigger next year. All of these are going to be bigger next year. And this too, this is a raspberry sundae hosta. And then over here is tiny right now, but it's a first blush hosta. And these are going to get bigger. So look at that weird leaf coming out of here. It's supposed to look like this. It looks like that. I wonder why. Anyway, so what should I do, folks? What should I do? Let me go get some more plants. I have more hostas that I need to fit in somewhere. I have more plants. This is a Patriot hosta. Its full size is 18 to 24 inches tall and wide. This is a blue Hawaii hosta, and it gets to be 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. This is a Minuteman hosta, which is 18 to 24 inches tall and wide. And then I have 3 of these heucheras. These are Carnival Watermelon, and they get to be 12 inches wide, so not much bigger than they are. So this is what I have to work with in this section right now. What should I put where? Let me play around with this for a little bit and come up with another idea and see how I can do it. How's that look? Okay, so I've got the trio of plants around the hydrangea, but it's not quite centered on that pot back there, that planter. Is that going to bug me forever? Probably. Should I shift that hydrangea over to the right by about 8 inches? I really think I should. Oh yeah, I really have to, don't I? Yeah, okay. All right, then what else? If I shift that all, then how else is it looking? I like the heucheras together rather than spread out. I like having that mass of that color there. Oh, the dogs are finding something to bark at. I I like having the mass of color together, otherwise it gets lost in the mulch. The hellebores are just so dark green. I need to have that brighter green in between them. So the Patriot and the Minuteman down front will add a little bit of bright white. A little bit more. That Raspberry Sundae is supposed to also have bright white, but so I like having that in there to break up all that hellebore green. And then over on this side, if I put this blue Hawaii right there, that'll get 3 to 4 feet, and then this elegans over here will get 3 to 4 feet, and they're both bluish. Not exactly, but maybe I should make them symmetric off of that planter as well. Yeah, I should. Okay, so I need to move some Astilbes and Black-Eyed Susans to make room for that blue hosta over there, because otherwise it's just going to bug me. It's going to feel off balance, and I know myself. I don't have to have everything symmetric, but if I have some implied symmetry, I really have to have symmetry. So I got to move that hydrangea, and then I got to move the plants over there to make room for that blue hosta. Okay, it's a plan. I had to move the path, stepping stones. They're all temporary, but I need a way to walk through there without stepping on anything. And I know I have daffodils, and I think there's a lily bulb, and there's probably tulips underground, and I have them marked with plant tags. So I had to put my stepping stones where those plant tags are not. So that helps me preserve that. Okay, so the next order of business is to mirror image kind of that blue elegans hosta with this blue Hawaii one. And let me see where that is in comparison to the planter box. It's pretty much right on this post. So I want to put it pretty much right where this Astilbe is. So blue Hawaii. I like blue hostas a lot. This stepping stone is super close to that and super close to this, but they're all just temporary. As these plants grow, they can move. You can see how unprofessionally I'm just laying them in here in the dirt. So just gives me a place to put my feet when I'm trying to work back in here. All right, what do I have left? I have 3 heucheras and 2 hostas. All right, what should I do next? Let's do those 2. So I'm happy with the symmetry of these plants, but like in this area, I don't feel any need to have them perfectly symmetric. I'm happy to have them balanced. I like that there's pink over here and pink over here. I like that there's chartreuse over there and chartreuse back here. I like the contrast of leaf size and texture. This is looking a little too similar to me right here, so I'm going to figure something out there. And the other thing about this is none of these plants are full size. They're all still in their first or maybe their second summer. And so I don't know what their full size is going to be. For example, if we look at this hellebore, this leaf grew this spring, but last year the leaves were this size. So should I expect that the whole plant is always going to have this big of a leaf? If so, then I definitely have to move something here because this is all too close together when this grows and becomes a big plant. Same thing here, same thing here. And I know these hostas are too close together right now, but for this season, for 2021. I'm going to plant them here, let them put on some roots, let them put on some size, and then every year hereafter I will rearrange and move things around as I need to so that they fit and look nice together. I have a daffodil tag right here, so I have a, oh, that's for this. So actually I think I'm going to put this one probably right here. I don't want to pull up my daffodil bulbs at all. This is the Patriot, and it gets to be 12 to 18 inches tall and wide. Again, I know I'm going to have to move something, either this or this or this, because this is too close together. But for now, it'll be just fine. And I'm going to uncharacteristically put the plant tag with it so that I remember which one is the Patriot and which one is the Minuteman. But I'll probably pull that out after I notate it in my journal. Uh-oh, I pulled up a bulb marker, so there may be daffodils under here or tulips or something. We'll find out in the spring, won't we? Well, I hit a tree root. All right, well, then this one here. Getting pretty hard clay down here, but I've got about 6 inches, maybe 5 inches worth of good, lovely topsoil on top, and that's from the compost and mulch that we've been adding over here throughout the years. Okay friends, well, it's been a couple of hours. I've been out here piddling and actually got more done than I expected to. I really didn't think I was going to revamp this garden, but it turns out I kind of like the way it is. I just have to wait for everything to grow in. It just all looks so pitifully small and separated by mulch right now. But I know that time, water, and fertilizer, compost will help. So gardening is a game of time and waiting, isn't it? Thank you for joining me today. I hope that you had fun piddling around the garden with me. Piddling is a word that I know that means something different in other English-speaking countries. So what I mean is puttering. So yeah, puttering around the garden, that's probably a better word to use. So anyway, thanks for joining me today. I hope that you had fun watching, and tell me in the comments below, what are you doing in your garden today? What small tasks are you tackling and just knocking off your list? Or maybe a big project? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much, friends. I will see you in another video very soon. Bye-bye.